Hi, I'm Roger Mashad. At Franklin Templeton Investments, we believe that citizens need to be informed about the resources that can help make higher education more affordable. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Hackensack Meridian Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, TD Bank, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities, NJM Insurance Group, and by NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. Turn a dream into a degree.
This is One-on-One.
I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at it.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato, but check this out. Every once in a while, when you have really great guests, it's one-on-two. Let's check these guys out. We've got, on my right, Dr. Joe Marbach, President, Georgian Court University. And next to him, his colleague, Dr. David Stout, President, Brookdale Community College. Good to see you, gentlemen. Joe, set this up. You were with us on State of Affairs, our other show, and we happened to mention that the two-year colleges, yours, the four-year institutions of higher learning, yours, are partnering up more and more. What's the partnership between you guys?
Yeah, part of it is the emphasis on making college accessible and affordable. And so we've been working at Georgian Court with Brookdale for probably 18, 20 years now in a program originally called Communiversity, but now more recently with satellite campuses that Brookdale has and a dual admission agreement that actually includes high schools in some cases where we can bring students from high school through an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree and an MBA at Georgian Court.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Joe. A dual admissions initiative? Talk about it.
So dual admissions means the students actually will apply to Brookdale or to one of the community colleges.
A two-year.
The two-year school, and then they're accepted into the two-year school, but simultaneously they're accepted into the four-year university. So as long as they meet the criteria for acceptance into that university, they're guaranteed admission.
But David, how does this impact on the affordability issue that Joe raises?
It absolutely decreases the overall cost of education.
Because?
Because the cost of the community college tuition is typically far less than what you would find at the state schools or private institutions. And then in addition to that, we have this really great agreement as part of our partnership that we reduce the cost of tuition at Georgian Court by up to 52%.
We provide scholarships to the students coming in based on their GPA and their standing at Brookdale. We know the quality of the education coming in, and so we're able to give them merit scholarships. So it cuts the cost of the second 2 years by about half.
Is this a model that a lot of other four- and two-year institutions of higher learning are engaged in?
It absolutely is. This is the way, it's the current and it's absolutely the future. This is the way that we're cutting down on the cost of overall college tuition by partnering up in this way. And universities have been doing this for a while through what we call articulation agreements.
Articulation agreements.
And these are when we might say, these are the courses that we offer, how does that line up with the courses that you offer? And we have this written agreement that says that we would accept the students and they get the credits to transfer. But this is different. This kind of partnership really, it makes it far more structured. It's a guaranteed admission for the student into the university. So the student, when they come in, they know that they're going to be able to get on and to get into that university.
The other component is that there's joint advising. So there aren't.
What does that mean? Break it down. Student.
Well, you want to study accounting or you want to study education. Our advisors work with Brookdale advisors to make sure they're taking the right courses in the right sequence, so there aren't wasted courses for a student who gets their 60 credits at Brookdale, but only 40 transfer to Georgian Court. Well, now you've got another semester and a half to take. We cut through that by having joint advising. All those credits count, so the student's on course to graduate in 4 years. And Steve, 80% of them do.
They do.
At Georgian Court.
Let's play devil's advocate for a second. So we deal with a lot of institutions of higher learning, yours being one of them. We have a great collaboration. But what I'm curious about is if if revenue, which is always an issue for all of us, whether you run a not-for-profit, a university, a community college, if revenue, which comes from student tuitions and fees, is so critical to the lifeblood of the organization, what is the incentive for a four-year institution to have someone pay less, a student pay less, who may be coming to Georgian Court at a later point, pay less at Brookdale? You lose those 2 years. They could have been with you all 4 years, devil advocate, and you make more money.
Possibly, but I'm also getting them. And also the nature of Georgian Court.
I mean, they may not otherwise
they might not
even
have come,
go.
or they might not even go to school in the first place.
Right.
And Georgian Court's unique in the state in that 60% of my undergraduate students are transfer students. And 60% of those students come from Brookdale. So we have a great relationship, and we continue to build on that with these satellite campuses. And Dave, we can tell me about the Hazlitt campus where students could go to 4 years.
By the way, we should make it clear, sorry for interrupting, that geographically, how far, I know you have multiple campuses, but your primary campus is based in?
We're in Lakewood, and
how far apart?
We're in Lincroft, so that's about 20 miles apart.
yeah,
Okay, and satellite
half-hour drive.
campuses. You're talking about the Hazlitt campus. Go ahead.
So the Hazlitt campus actually
Is that
our
117
northernmost-
off Parkway?
Exactly.
Just checking.
How did you know that?
I should know those
it's,
things.
It's our northernmost site. And it's actually furthest away geographically from Lakewood. But it's interesting because the students from that area are very attracted to go to Georgian Court. So it's actually very much an interesting partnership, and it's attracting the right students, I think, for the...
And we do degree completion right there in Hazlitt. And because it's not on our main campus, we discounted tuition, and it's about a $500 credit hour.
That matters.
It does matter because it's about $5,000 a year to go to Brookdale. So $10,000 the first 2 years, $15,000 for year 3, $15,000 for year 4. It's about $40,000. So you can get a 4-year degree as a commuter student for $40,000.
How would any of this be impacted? Lots of discussion right now about the possibility of free community college education, your schools. If that were to happen, how does it impact this partnership?
I think one of the beautiful things about the idea of the free community college is that it's thought to attract students that aren't currently coming to college. We have about 17% of Monmouth County high school graduates that choose not to go to college because of the affordability issue.
Not that they don't want to.
Not that they don't want to, but even the cost of the community college is out of their reach, and we're finding more of our students are actually working in order to pay those bills. So if we can help the student to forget about the cost of tuition, come to school for the 2 years, they're more likely to go on to a partner program.
Interesting.
They're more likely to actually graduate and move on.
So unlike some of my colleagues at 4 years that are very concerned about it, I think actually Georgian Court would benefit because, as Dave says, it increases the pool of students at schools like Brookdale. And since we get so many transfer students as it is, we'll actually grow. So this would be a beneficial program to Georgian Court.
So before I let you out here, it's a model, but others are using it as well. Those who say, again, devil's advocate, you know what? We want all 4 years. We don't want to partner with anyone else because we're going to lose the money. Joe, you say what to them?
Well, good luck, is what I say, because it really doesn't work in terms of affordability and accessibility for the types of students that we look to attract. And
Either you get the 2 years or you get no years.
Or you get none, it could be. And the type of student that we're seeking to attract are local, they're in the community, often first-generation students, lower income students. They're attracted to both our institutions, and it's been a great working relationship.
Last question. Joe knows I'm a student of leadership. We have a new radio show on AM 970 that looks at the question of leadership. So I need to ask those in leadership positions, I choose to, the greatest leadership lesson they have learned so far. Joe's done it a few times. What's the number one leadership lesson you've learned so far?
Absolutely listening to what people are telling you, listening to their body language. We have to understand the culture of the organization that we walk into, and not necessarily think that we can superimpose our characteristics or
You're not
what we
a
want
top-down
onto
leader?
them. No, definitely not.
How about you listen to stuff you really don't want to hear? You have to listen anyway?
You have to. You have to. It's a part of it.
Joe, you say?
You
can't say the same thing.
Listening
You gotta give me
is important.
something
I
else.
say you treat others the way you expect to be treated. The golden rule.
So you still believe in the golden rule?
Still believe in the golden rule. Still follow it.
Joe, thank you. David, thank you. Wish you nothing but the best, but more importantly to all of your students who, many of whom, would not be able to have a higher education and whatever that means afterwards if they didn't have this opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Every once in a while, one-on-one becomes one-on-two. Stay with us right after this.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are pleased to welcome Jody D'Agostini, who is founder and board chair of an organization called Community in Crisis. Jody, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You've been involved, been involved in an incredible organization making a difference, dealing with the opioid crisis in our area and our nation. But you have a very personal connection to this as to why you even started to talk about it back in December of 2013.
Yeah, I got a very tearful call from my daughter, who was at college at the time. She's a nursing student and was in the hospital, so she really wasn't piping up her social media. Friday night called me with one of those phone calls that you know something's terribly wrong, can't catch her breath, and tells me that two of her friends have overdosed, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. Through her tears, trying to calm her down, she said, "Mom, how many more are we going to lose before someone does something about it?" Those words stuck with me. I'm a very spiritual person. I prayed on it that night, and I thought she was right. You know, she's right. Why are we going to watch kids die? And at that point, we really didn't understand this epidemic like we do today. This was 4.5 years ago. But I could count 19 people that I knew that were going in and out of recovery, friends of mine's children. I was fortunate enough to be in a place where I could make a difference. I was chair of the board of the Somerset Hills YMCA at that point. Called the head of the Y on Saturday morning, and I said, "David, we're about healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility. This is in our sweet spot. I can't tell you what's going on, but something's going on. Can we study it and work on it?" So we were able to launch our community in crisis through the Y system. And study it, meet with addiction counselors, and create an evidence-based model to be able to combat this disease that's plaguing our nation, and New Jersey at 20% higher than the national average.
Jody, break it down. How exactly do you help people who are struggling?
Well, right now we've broken it down into prevention and education on the front end. So we want to stop more people from going into the queue and getting addicted, because once you're addicted, it can change brain chemistry. It's a disease. It's very difficult to give up. It's not a choice at that point. So we want to stop more people through education and prevention on the front end. We're also doing safeguarding of medications, clearing out medicine cabinets, locking up drugs, getting rid of stocks, not getting prescriptions on the front end. And then we most recently moved into the area of sobriety support, which is an area that really isn't well funded at this point, and not many people are in that area.
You know, the other thing I want to talk about is this opioid abuse toolkit. Our friends at the Horizon Foundation told us about this initiative. I know that
they're good friends of ours, and the Horizon Foundation partnered with us, as well as Rutgers Medical and Farm School. They liked the evidence-based model that we were doing, so we worked together to embellish it and create a statewide toolkit.
What is it?
It's a kind of how-to guide. So, and several communities that have started have called us to say, "What are you doing?" You know, because it takes a long time, and you're kind of throwing darts at the beginning. So we've been doing this 4.5 years now, and it's everything from marketing materials to lectures to who to go to, how to combat our model that takes it takes a village to do this. That's how we call it.
Describe that. People have heard that expression before, but break it down as to what it really means when it comes to dealing with someone struggling with addiction to opioids.
So we try to involve the entire community, from everybody from the schools, getting education in the schools, the police. We changed their thinking. We got them trained in Narcan recovery, because that's a big change. You know, we've had over 14,000 Narcan saves last year, and more so in 2018.
Take it back for a second. I need to understand this.
Yes.
You said retrain or train police. What does that mean?
Well, I think they used to think them as drug addicts and criminals, and now I think they're starting to rethink this as they're people with a disease that this is beyond their control, and that maybe they need some help and some re-education and ways to get better, basically. So yes, they are, can't arrest their way out of it, as our prosecutor has been our friend says.
Go back to the Narcan piece.
Yes.
Not everyone knows what Narcan is.
Narcan is a drug that kind of reverts them back so that it can save lives, and it has saved many, many lives. As I said, over 14,000 saves after an overdose. Yes.
And the toolkit has a whole range of other information. By the way, Georgette, are we putting up the website so people can find out? Let's put it up as we speak. I'm curious about this. Parents.
Yes.
What do you want to say to them right now? Who say, you know what? It's terrible. Not my kid, though.
So that was what happened. If you can go back to December 2013, when we approached the schools, one of our school districts said, "It's not in ours, it's only in Basking Ridge." And I said, "Oh no, it's everywhere. It's everywhere across the state." So part of this is overcoming that and trying to educate them that it can be your kid. And it's heading all socioeconomic groups, all throughout New Jersey. So it's not like not in my town, it is in your town. And so to, roll under a rug and pretend that it can't be your kid, I think, it's not doing your child a good service. So sometimes knowing, first of all, the warning signs, if your child starts to recede and pull away, if there's some depression or anxiety, some of the kind of the, path or the root causes, as we call them, of why somebody might be going down this. Growing up is hard right now. I mean, there's a lot of bullying. Social media is playing a big part in all this, and we're starting to get to the root causes, because the way to cure a disease is to, I was a science major, to go back to the beginning and say, okay, how did this happen? And if we can stop it here, then when we can stop the progression of it eventually.
Jody, you've challenged the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
To do what and why?
Well, we have a new program, so we're doing, as I said, sobriety support on the back end, which is not well established at this point. One of the parents that called me said, it's really hard. My kid's 25, comes back from, sobriety, recovery and all that after an overdose, comes back to community, can't go out with his friends because they're all going out to bars on the weekend or they're drinking, it involves drinking, can't get a job because he's got something on his background right now, heroin possession. Exactly, so he can't get a job. So we started an initiative called Second Chance. We're partnering with a company called Executive Search that's in Parsippany and Bridgewater to try to get them reentry into the job market. And they are going out to pharmaceutical companies. That was one of our ideas, saying, hey, listen, if you are participated a little bit in the causation of this. Do you think that they did?
Do you think pharmaceutical companies owe it to do this?
I think from a social responsibility, yes, I do. And I used to work in pharma.
Well, here's my question. I'm not going to turn this into a political conversation. It's more of an ethical, moral one. Do you think that most of the leaders in the pharmaceutical community acknowledge that they have contributed to this situation? Not that they are ultimately or primarily responsible or exclusively, but they've contributed big time.
I think they've taken some ownership. There's multifactorial causes to this. It's not just the pharma, but certainly that was part of it. I mean, the other part of it was we made pain management the fifth vital sign.
That's right.
So if doctors are being challenged to lower pain scores and you're given this magic
1 to 10,
tool.
what's your pain?
Exactly. So what are you going to do?
Jody, before I let you out, when is too early, not early enough? 5th, 6th grade, can you talk about this with young people in school?
I think it starts in middle school or below, and they're saying as early as 3rd grade, start the education, start curriculum. Part of it is coping skills, learning ways to deal with, bullying and some of the things out there they're being challenged with, social media. They can't get away from it. It's there in their home now.
Jody, thank you for what you're doing.
Can I mention one thing before I go?
Go.
We did open up a hub. It's our community support, 3,000 square feet. We're doing everything in sobriety support from acoustic coffee houses. So on a Saturday night, you can come, listen to music with other people that are not doing drugs or drinking. It doesn't have to be just people in recovery. We're doing sober sports leagues so that you can be socially. And please come if you are looking for a job and you want to try to get back into the workforce. We've got willing partners that want to help you. We also have an advocate that can help you find placement for the right treatment that you're going to need.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate what you're doing
Appreciate
every day.
it. Thank you.
Okay. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
Thank you.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're joined by Corinne Zupko, who is an author of an interesting and compelling book called From Anxiety to Love. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
What are you doing writing about anxiety? Like as if there aren't millions of people dealing with it every day or not dealing with it.
Possibly, but it is a rampant problem. I'm writing about it because of what I went through, and I hope to help others. And the feedback that I've gotten about the book already has been really heartwarming.
What's the message of the book?
The message of the book is that anxiety falls away as we begin to remember our true self. So I believe that what we are is love. We're made of love. There's this spark of good that exists in all of us. And it might be really deeply buried. It might be covered on layers upon layers of fear. But the more we get in touch and connect with that, the anxiety falls away. It's not like we have to effort or strain or really, although it's a process and it's work, it's not like we have to work hard at getting over our fears. The fear falls away as we connect with ourselves.
Is that what happened for you?
Yes.
By the way, just if you, without putting you in an uncomfortable and
it.
anxiety-filled situation, what did you experience?
I have been diagnosed throughout my life at various points in time with multiple different anxiety disorders. So my first anxiety disorder diagnosis came at the age of 2, around there, when I was really young. Separation anxiety disorder. My poor mother could not leave the room, even in our own house, without me screaming my head off. And the anxiety, I grew out of that, but I like to think about how fear is kind of like a shapeshifter. So it sort of will go underground and morph and change and maybe come out another way.
It pops up sometimes.
Like
where did that come from?
Like a leaky pipe, until you start to get to the root of the fear. So I grew out of the separation anxiety, but I had a lot of phobias develop, and I started worrying about getting sick. You know, every little pang of pain, I was like, am I dying of a terrible disease? The what ifs. The what ifs.
By the way, I never said this on the air. I had that too.
I think we all do. You
got a bump, you got to think, it's got to be something terrible.
Yeah.
My wife will be like, will you stop? It's putting the fear ahead of the reality.
And one of the worst things we can do is go on the internet and search for our symptoms, because the internet will tell us the worst case scenario.
It doesn't help anxiety, does it?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, so you're dealing with it. You're struggling with it. Mm-hmm. What makes you say, I want to help other people?
Well, the desire to help came from my own receiving of help. So when I was in college, that was when I started struggling with panic attacks. So the college age years are a time when mental health issues surface for a lot of people.
Sure.
And I was no exception. So I learned that a student who I actually didn't know died of a sudden illness. He was supposedly fine the night before and then passed away the next morning. And I remember just being terrified that that was going to happen to me, or how could this even happen? It just seems wrong that could happen to somebody. And that was when the panic attacks began. And I felt like I would try anything to feel better. And of course I got into therapy, and I was greatly served by my counselor. Although I needed to go deeper than what we did, the work still helped enough that I knew I found my calling. I switched my major from, I think at the time, physics to psychology, and I knew I wanted to go into counseling.
And what's interesting is you do online counseling?
I do online coaching.
Coaching, I'm sorry.
Yes, I do. Coaching. I work with groups with educational programs.
How rewarding is that?
It's so rewarding to get to...
Why is it?
To make meaning out of your own darkness, out of your own struggle, to be able to take what I've learned and turn around and be able to help somebody else is the best feeling in the world.
Stay on that point. I do a fair amount of coaching in the area of public communication speaking, seminars, workshops, leadership and communication. And very often the people who are speaking in public will often say in a seminar, I literally can't do it. What do you mean? They're top level executive, mid-level manager, whatever. He or she says, I can't do it. And part of the way, it's not really about me, but part of the way I deal with them and help them is to talk to them about some of the anxiety I felt and sometimes continue to feel about performance anxiety in public situations. And very often they'll say, without belaboring the point, no, that's ridiculous. You've never done that. This is what you do professionally. But the reality is, if you don't tell people for real, and I can cite chapter and verse about when I literally had a full-blown whatever, they think they're the only ones, don't they?
And that's what anxiety always does.
It's just me.
We always think it's just us. And I can't tell you, when I started talking about this publicly and writing about it and blogging about it, I had so many people come to me from elementary, high school, and college and say, oh my gosh, Corinne, I had no idea I have had anxiety also. I've struggled with this for years, be it anxiety or depression. So we don't talk about it enough, and we really need to.
It's not permanent?
I don't believe it is at all, because like I said before, when we start to connect with who we really are and drop the layers of fear, the healing that I've experienced, if you could see me before and after, it's like night and day.
Right now?
Like right now.
You're really good on television right now. I shouldn't tell you you're on television. I'm just having a conversation. Would you have been different 10 years ago?
Well, even to give you a specific example, in 5th grade, I was so petrified to get up on stage in the spelling bee that I spelled that first word incorrectly on purpose.
No, you didn't.
I did not want to.
And you knew how to spell it.
Oh yeah.
And today?
And today,
right here.
I'm speaking to large groups of people. I'm flying on airplanes where in the past I used to write a goodbye letter to my family every time I get on a plane, just in case. And now I'm able to fly without medicine, without white knuckling a meditation the whole time, you know, because I'm trying to keep myself calm.
Best piece of advice you give someone listening right now, because you know many are struggling with anxiety.
When I was knocked out on the couch with anxiety, where I had mascara stains down my cheeks from crying, my stepfather looked at me and he said, "Corinne, the light in you is too bright to fail." And I say that to everybody listening right now. The light in you is too bright to fail. No matter what your struggle is, no matter what your challenge is, the light in you is too bright to fail.
You may not realize it, but you just helped a lot of people in a short period of time.
I hope so.
And I thank you for joining us. Can I tell folks again?
Absolutely.
Corinne's book is called From Anxiety to Love. And I thank you very much and wish you and the people you work with every day nothing but the best.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for sharing.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Hackensack Meridian Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, TD Bank, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, Kessler Foundation, NJM Insurance Group, and by NJ Best. Promotional support provided by Meadowlands Regional Chamber, building essential connections that drive business growth, and by Observer New Jersey Politics. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
What is your child's dream for the future? Doctor? Teacher? Architect? Whatever they aspire to be, a college education may realize those dreams. And NJ Best can help. It's the college savings plan specifically designed for New Jersey families. Start saving today with as little as $25, because now is the time to invest in their future. To learn about NJ Best 529 College Savings Plan, its investment objectives, risks, and costs, read the Investor Handbook available at njbest.com.